And hello, everyone. Welcome to WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Ian.
And I'm Crystal.
And we're going to talk about some resort stuff.
Yay, resort stuff!
Not poop stuff, resort stuff. I got it this time.
Yeah.
I'm
It's okay.
I'm getting there.
It's only I got it wrong now. It's only resort number 2.
Resort number 2. So, we kind of alluded to this last time when we were talking about the contemporary.
What?
Foreshadowing. We're going to talk about the Polynesian this time.
Yay!
Which is a very historic resort in the scheme of Disney World especially.
Yes.
It was one of the only 2 opening day resorts, the other, of course, being the Contemporary, which we've already talked about.
I heard, side note,
yes.
that they actually opened the Polynesian early just for all the journalists doing the background information on Disney World. So technically it might have actually been number 1 versus number 2.
Interesting. Okay.
But anyways.
So, semantics, it may have opened just before Contemporary, who's to say, but for all intents and purposes to Disney, they opened at the same time.
Yes.
On opening day.
For the public.
For the public, yeah. And the similarities with the Contemporary don't end there. They were developed with the same technology from U.S. Steel, and they were developed with from the same architecture firm in L.A. So that whole thing was the same.
And they were modular as well.
Yes, they were also modular, and they suffered the same problem that the Contemporary had with the mold and the debris and detritus in between the rooms. There were some differences in the way they handled it. I think they were assembled slightly differently, but the longhouses were basically the same kind of thing where they slotted the rooms in and did the same kind of build setup. Obviously, that construction style didn't take off, but I appreciate them for trying.
Yes.
So I have notes on my phone, because this is me. So, as we said, opened in 1971 along with the Contemporary, and it opened with 492 rooms at the time.
Yes. I do remember them talking about originally the first concept art was that the Polynesian was supposed to be another 13-story building, but then they changed it to the longhouses to fit more of the Polynesian style instead of it being another mirror to the Contemporary.
Right. So instead of like a tiki-themed Contemporary, they kind of went with a different styling to be more in line with them.
Did a little bit more research.
That makes sense. Research. So... And it's interesting because the style they did is with the longhouses for all of the different rooms. And then they've got the Grand Ceremonial House, which was kind of set the standard. It was, at the time they did it to be designed after tiki culture, where like in the South Pacific, they have like the longhouses, the community ceremonial lodge.
And Disney was obsessed with the South Pacific style and tiki rooms, tiki bars, going all the way back to Disneyland when he came up with the first animatronics just so he could have a tiki room.
Yeah. It gives an idea how far the guy went for tiki stuff, so...
But he wanted to do it on a grander scale, so
Exactly.
therefore we have an entire resort.
Because why not? I wish I had that kind of money just to do that.
I know, right?
So, the Grand Ceremonial House, the Grand Ceremonial Lodge, was the lobby, and it's interesting because that's become kind of a standard theme for them, for a lot of their resorts to follow. So especially like the moderates and the values especially have the satellite buildings with the central lobby check-in area. Very much the same way. It originally featured like a waterfall and like a river running through the middle of it.
They only changed that in the last 15 years.
It was basically like a health concern. They didn't like having the running water in the city in the middle of the lobby.
Let's be honest. This whole resort has kind of had its health concerns the whole time.
Its own set of problems.
Even to the beginning when they first opened, it looked rotted and worn down due to the fact of the bamboo that they shipped over from Asia rotting before it even opened, and so it looked,
a little
horrible to the
ishy.
press junket. They did not do a good job in materials.
They hadn't sorted out that problem yet.
Since changed out those bamboo shoots and bamboo poles to fiberglass replacements.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Which they've loved to do ever since. A lot of Disney plant life on structural pieces are not plant life.
And then another time, I know when they were doing one of their first remodels, they were concerned about asbestos.
Oh, heavens.
Yes. So there's been lots of
fun stuff
interesting
happening.
bits on the Polynesian.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've got the ceremonial house and so used to have the big water feature, which I remember from when I checked with my family. I think I was 4 or 5, and we went and we did a character breakfast at the Poly. Mm-hmm. And it was, I think Winnie the Pooh was there, but I don't remember for sure.
Okay.
It's like safari gear and like
maybe because at that point in time they wouldn't have Lilo and Stitch.
No, that would
so they would have to have some other characters.
Some other characters. Yeah, I think it was Winnie the Pooh. And I remember walking into the lobby and being like, come again for Big Fudge with this, water feature running through the middle. So that was one of my first Disney memories. So I think we were staying at like Port Orleans at the time, so it was like we went over there to do it, and it was like just like, what is this? So anyway, yeah. So the Poly, it is also situated on the Seven Seas Lagoon, whereas the Contemporary is actually technically more centered on Bay Lake. They're very close in terms of like it's kind of negotiable, but anyway, but
they're connected by a little inlet.
A little inlet thing, yeah. And so it's interesting. So they put it on the lagoon, which is all man-made. Bay Lake is real, but the Seven Seas Lagoon was man-made. And they also had this brilliant idea early on to be like, you could do like surfing because it's the South Pacific. So
yeah, I mean it's Hawaii culture. Right. Everybody surfs down there, right?
So why not do it? In like Central Florida, like let's give it a shot, right?
Exactly, on an interior man-made lake.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing could possibly go wrong. So what they ended up doing was creating these big wave machines on an island in the middle of the lake, and then it would push against the shoreline at Polynesian, and you could surf on these fairly large waves. So they had them on like a schedule. Well, unsurprisingly, eventually the whole thing started to erode the shoreline, especially on the Poly side, and so I think it wasn't that long. I didn't see the closing down date on it, but it wasn't that long.
It was pretty quick after opening.
They were kind of like, I think we'll shut this.
This is not necessarily good.
Let's shut this down. So they basically at that point they just gave up on it. So but my understanding is most of the equipment is still.
No.
Did they get rid of it?
They did get rid of it recently. There's a rumor that they had sunk it, but no. They actually did remove all of the equipment for the wave machines.
Okay, but it was for a long time. It was
just sitting there.
Right.
Very long time. It was just sitting there.
Surprise! Classic Disney. They just
cementing in swimming pools and
right, exactly. So yeah, they got this wave equipment. I think it was very early wave equipment. I can't remember if it was there's two styles. The one is like a machine, like a weight that pushes up and down.
And I don't know about that one.
Yeah, and then the other one was like a water thing where you would build water up and then drop it in.
Yeah, and I don't know which ones.
I never saw that. There was less information than I was expecting on that when I was looking. But anyway, so yeah, that was a thing. But they closed that down pretty quickly. But it would have been a cool idea. And then so the Seven Seas Lagoon, it is one of 2 resorts on the Seven Seas Lagoon. The other, of course, being Grand Floridian. So that's pretty cool.
And it is one of the 2 resorts that still has access to water entertainment.
Right.
So we're talking about the being able to rent the boats and the... go parasailing and all that other fun stuff. Like we said last time, they used to be able to do it at the Contemporary, but they have since stopped that. So now you only have the Polynesian and the Grand Floridian as options for those.
Right. So that was very interesting. That must have been pretty recently they changed that at the Contemporary, right?
Very recent. Last year.
Last year. Oh, wow. Okay. That is very interesting. So, yeah, very interesting. So that's the Seven Seas Lagoon, which is man-made. And so... the resort has been expanded upon 3 times officially. The first time, so it opened in 71, and it was the first expansion was already in 1978. Like they were like right away, like 7 years later. They was like, all right, moving on. So they added another longhouse. Don't ask me which one it was because I don't know their names. They keep changing it, and I'm confused.
Yes, they do. They keep changing it.
So I don't know which one it is.
Like at one point in time, one of the longhouses was called Hawaii, which is not anywhere in the South Pacific. So they eventually went a little bit more traditional into traditional names, and
classic Disney.
it is what it is.
They get there. They catch up eventually, but sometimes it's just like, did you guys really do that?
Yeah.
So 1978 was the first one. In 1985, they added 2 more longhouses. At this point, they also we should point out it's Polynesian Village Resort is the official name of the resort in its entirety.
Into that time,
initially it was what it was called, and in 1985 they actually just changed it to the Polynesian Resort.
It's a little bit less of a mouthful.
A little less of a mouthful. And so that was when they added the 2 new longhouses. And then in 2014 was the next, 2014 and 2015 kind of together were the next round of expansions in the same year. The first thing they did, they actually it's back to Polynesian Village Resort again.
Well, specifically for especially the DVC part,
right?
Because they expanded to DVC.
Right.
So they have the bungalows, they have longhouses that are specific for the DVC members, and those are specifically the village.
My understanding
bungalows.
my understanding from what I read was they renamed the entire thing that.
Okay.
But I think there's like
everybody just calls it the Poly.
The Poly, yeah, everyone just calls it the Poly anyway. It was kind
of too lazy to actually say Polynesian.
Which we knew that they were already gonna, like, Disney already knows that we do that, so I guess they were just like, let's just rename it back to the original one again. It's all like historic and stuff. It's got fun mom energy.
Yeah.
So they did that. And that was the thing. So it's got all those DVC properties now, and of course you can spend lots of fun money with.
Have you actually seen the pricing for those rooms?
I have not. It made me sad, so I decided not to look.
So the bungalows. Yeah, let's talk a second about those bungalows.
How many rooms, Crystal?
Those bungalows are like, if you ever seen video or pictures of like Bora Bora, where they have the houses that stand out on the water on stilts. That's what these bungalows are.
Okay.
And these bungalows average about $3,000 a night for a couple rooms, and you get to be out on the water, so you have your own view of the fireworks from Magic Kingdom, as well as the electric parade that goes around Seven Seas Lagoon in the evening, but still $3,000 a night. And I think the rooms average about $650 a night if you are not DVC. Right. And that is where they get you, because then you go, well, I should be DVC. And so I can stay in these good places and not have to spend as much money.
Right.
But, yeah. So if you want to stay at the Poly and you are not DVC, expect to pay a very pretty penny. Very pretty penny.
Yeah. It's got the classic Walt. It's got the Walt tax on it. Because it's got the contemporary.
Well, the monorail tax.
The monorail tax. And that was where I was just going to go. It is one of, I think, only 3 resorts currently on the monorail resort loop. And that is literally just the Contemporary, the Polynesian, and the Grand Floridian. And that's it.
Yep, and those are the most premium of the resorts as well, because they are A, in walking distance of the original Magic Kingdom, B, they've been touched by Walt, and C, they're on the monorail, and everybody wants to be on the monorail. I remember discussing going down for my birthday with my mom, and my mom's like, I want to stay on a resort that's on the monorail, and I'm like, I can't afford that.
Yeah, no.
No, thank you. I mean, that'd be awesome.
Right.
But...
Right.
$600 a night minimum?
Yeah.
No thanks.
No thank you. Yeah. So it's an interesting one. It's got a very storied history with things that have happened just in world culture. Polynesian has kind of been there, and I think you already know which one I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I mean this is a huge pop culture phenomenon that was stopped
at the Polynesian abruptly.
Just signed the papers and was done.
Yep, that was the end of the Beatles.
The Beatles.
So if I recall this correctly, was that where John Lennon signed?
Yep.
Yeah. So basically, they brought everyone kind of. I think he was on vacation there.
Christmas.
Yeah. Depressing deal that is. So they all went, and the paperwork came and got signed officially at the Poly, and that was the end of the Beatles. That was the end
of the Beatles.
So, if you stay at the Polynesian, remember that.
You could end up in the room.
You could up in the... I never saw it. Do they know what room that is?
I don't know.
Was it actually in a room, or was it like in...
It was in a room.
It was in a room.
It was in a room. Not sure which one. You could probably ask a cast member that works there, but...
Yeah.
Eh.
Now, one thing I just realized that I don't have a lot of information on is the dining options.
Well, there are a number of dining options there. You're going to have Captain Cook's, which is your counter service, and that one I believe is open 24 hours. It's one of the few actual
Really?
Counter service in a resort that you can go up to for 24 hours. Now, don't quote me on that. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. It's either that one or the one at the Grand Floridian that are open 24 hours. I can't remember.
Okay.
But
I call counter service breakfast. We go to the
Well, and
breakfast
speaking
place?
of breakfast, Tonga toast. Tonga toast is a huge thing that you can only find at the Polynesian. Mostly it's served at Ohana, which is character dining, but it is a phenomenon. It's like a banana bread pudding. Like a coconut bread with bananas and caramel, and it's amazing.
Is that supposed to be breakfast?
And yes, it's breakfast,
Love
but
that.
you can also get it at Captain Cook's. They have a couple other dining options. They also have a luau that they offer that you can get special tickets for, and it's one of those meals where it's all you care to eat, but they serve it to the table, so you can go ahead and just keep plowing through stuff while the entertainment's going on.
Fun.
Ohana's a great one to be able to catch the fireworks at Magic Kingdom while you are eating.
Yeah.
They even pipe in the music, so you have the corresponding music to go with the fireworks, so it's a nice, unique experience. They have a lot of specialty drinks there, being, tiki themed.
Right.
The most signature one that I can think of off the top of my head is the Lapu Lapu, and that's the one that comes in the actual pineapple. It's super strong, so you want to watch out for it.
It's tiki.
It's tiki.
Very sweet and very strong.
And there's even a hidden, quote-unquote, bar that only opens up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's in an unopposing door that you can go into, and it's very small, so you might not be able to get an actual seating spot, but depending on what drink you order, like, they have animations that go off around the room and animatronics that react, and it's a huge thing, and it's adorable.
To go to there.
And yeah, we definitely should go. I should take you, but that's one that is kind of a hush in regards to it. I think it's called Trader Sam's. Don't quote me on that one again.
Okay.
I'm trying to go off of memory here. But there are a number of, like I said, different food options that you can do. That's also one of the original places outside of the park to be able to get Dole Whip.
Right.
So you can get Dole Whip there in shakes as well as served in a cup. Now it's becoming more frequent for you to be able to get it other places, hence why you were able to try it in Disney Springs. But it was one of the original places outside of the park because, hey, pineapple, tiki, kind of the same thing. So there's those options. I know they have a couple store options as well that are really fun. One of them is an homage to all the old tiki gods, and so you'll see, like, behind the registers, there's a window, and there's a tiki god popping through, like, trying to look to see, or, those sorts of things as well. There's lots of little hidden gems that Disney has. I know this resort also has 2 pools. One is the Quiet Pool. That's their current name for it, is the Quiet Pool.
Lovely.
Because the other one's the Volcano Pool.
Right, yes. And it is, I looked it up, and it's like it's a volcano. Yeah, very, very volcano-y. Which is interesting, because in terms of, like, the deluxe resorts, they are kind of understated usually for the pools. This is definitely the most, like, loud visually of all of the deluxe pools.
But I mean, what would you expect from a Polynesian tiki place? Like, nothing is subtle there.
No, this is true. It's not accurate and not subtle. That's like the definition of tiki, right?
There are times where they even still give you lays when you come check in.
That's hilarious.
So this is a really fun experience. Even if you just go and visit, you're going to find, like, I've walked into the main ceremonial house before, and there was an artist just sitting there with a table, hand making stuff like leis and other things to be able to, have, which is great. So it's a really unique experience, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Like I said, I haven't been there since I was probably about 4 or 5 or 3 or 4. So I think that it'll be another opportunity for me to go back again. I need to get back to both contemporary and poly again.
We just need to do the monorail loop. We just need to do like a monorail happy hour and just kind of hang around.
I have never once set foot in the Grand Floridian.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually, the number of resorts I haven't set foot on may surprise you, but we'll get there. It's part of our resort series. It'll be a fun little adventure for all of us to go on together.
But yeah, so it's a great resort. It's historic. I really appreciate the updates that have been done to it.
Yeah.
No asbestos is great, but also the aesthetics.
Love no asbestos.
The current look of the Polynesian is very classic feeling without it being time locked, where you can definitely tell it's 70s or 80s. So it's helping capture the feeling.
Right, and that's a hard one because tiki culture can look either really kitsch in a bad way or really dated very easily, and keeping both of those things in a way that you can kind of keep it kind of running in a way where everyone kind of is in on it can be sort of kind of challenging, but leave it to Disney to figure out how to make that work.
Yeah, and expect more things like Moana starting to show up in that area.
Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch have been a staple ever since that movie had come out, but Moana, Maui, those characters are probably going to start infiltrating that resort a little bit more. I can see that happening.
Is Maui a character now for meet and greet stuff?
I don't believe so, but I could see it happening.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out if he's going to be like a face character or not.
I think he'd be a fur character just because of
the bulk.
Statue that he is.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, they've had other characters, not necessarily in the American parks, but especially in the other parks that are supposed to be face characters that they've made into fur characters.
Interesting.
One of them, side tangent, being the fairy godmother in Cinderella. Yeah, they've made her into a fur character in other locations, probably just because they don't have a character actor that fits
the bill
as well.
Sure.
The one that we have in our park for Magic Kingdom actually used to play other characters when she was younger.
Oh.
And so there's a continuity. I saw a little story about that the other day where an adult now had pictures with her as a princess when she was a child, brought her kids as an adult to go see her as the fairy godmother.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's a super sweet continuity, and being able to say, hey, just because you aged out of one princess doesn't mean you can't still be a character. But that's another story.
Right.
But I could see, with the proportions of Maui, making it harder to be able to find a face character for it.
Yeah, it just would be, he's so over the top that it'd be hard to properly personify that without being challenging.
We'll see what they come up with.
I hope they bring him in. He's a wonderful character.
He's an amazing character. So
yeah, great movie. Great. It'd be awesome to see them take a bigger stage in there.
At least little homages someplace.
Yeah.
Maybe like Maui's tattoos someplace on something could be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
We'll see.
And they animate. Like, there's so many options there. Could be very cool. I would love... Moana is one of my favorites right now, so it'd be really fun to see that kind of take hold a little bit of the Polynesian, which would be just kind of fun. But yeah, that's kind of all I have for the Polynesian.
Yeah.
It's one that I haven't been to as much, so I know I just kind of feel a little less connected to it, but I wanna get back in and see a little bit more about it again.
I didn't do this one, so I can't really tell you death tolls. But
I always go to Wikipedia for incidents. I always go over there and check, and I didn't see anything, which I found interesting. But, let us know.
Where was the alligator attack? Was that Grand Floridian?
I think that was Grand Floridian.
Okay, well, that'll be to come then.
Right body of water, wrong resort. We'll get there, unfortunately. Yeah, that was pretty recent. But, all right, well, that's cool. I really enjoy these resort episodes.
I do too.
So they're just very fun. We can kind of go through it.
Reminisce.
So, yeah, talk about it. We just basically makes us want to go Disney more.
Yeah.
But, that's just kind of the way it is. It's the risk of running a podcast like this.
That's true. That's very true.
So, there we go. Just saving it up, saving the money. Let's do it. So, all right. Well, on that note, thank you so much for listening and watching. It's been WD Carousel Podcast. My name's Ian.
And I'm Crystal. And I hope everybody has a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Beautiful tomorrow, just a dream away.